Hello, I am beerbaum. Today I'm excited to show you some exercises that Brasser and Reisenbeck are part of our daily, weekly, monthly routine all year round for all the different horses. Young horses, old horses, horses that are getting back into training after a break. And one of the basic exercises when it comes to coordination and strength I want to show you now. Usually the horse has a given talent for jumping and is, by nature, able to jump over fences. It is our job to control and coordinate this in a certain order, and to do so as a form of strength and training in this soft way of lifting his feet off the ground, pushing off the ground, and in the end has to be coordinated and controlled. The first exercise for today is a basic exercise with 4 cavaletti. Of course, you can extend it out as you wish to 5 or 6, or maybe with a really green horse, only with 2. Today we choose a good average of 4 cavaletti with a distance of 2 meters. 2 comfortable meters. This is something that you're able to have to be flexible with as well. For a young horse, a hasty horse, it should maybe be wider than 2 meters. For a horse that is already having a certain degree of suppleness and education, 2 meters is a pretty good average. And now I am looking forward to demonstrating the exercise together with cool feeling. If after a couple of minutes of riding in the walk, and I have the feeling that he is on my aids, he has his thoughts and his senses tuned to my aids, then I do the same in trot. I begin to trot, a rising trot in the beginning. Here again, I try to find my rhythm, and to find my rhythm with him. The exact same thing as in the walk, but also in the trot. Making sure that he accepts my aids, my half halts. He still feels a little bit stiff. He has just gotten off the trailer. Later, this will hopefully get a little more energetic, a little more relaxed, but it's called warm-up time and a warm-up phase for a reason. A little like when we jump out of bed in the morning. Then we, as well, are often not as supple as we are having been up for an hour or 2. We have to do this with the horse as well. I started with 2, 3 rounds on the left, now I change direction and go to the right. Now I feel that his engine slowly gets going. He is now beginning to reach forward and to move by himself a little. I don't have to apply as much leg. I like to ride some transitions in the beginning. Walk to trot, trot to walk. And trot again, yes. A relaxing exercise, and at the same time again and again. Checking the aids. Is my horse really on my aids? Does he concentrate on the aids I give? On what I want from him? What I ask? Now 1 or 2 transitions. Diligent in the walk. Yes. Now as well, it is important that he walks well and actively in front of me. We have now done the first few minutes of the warm-up. He listens well to my aids. So now, we can slowly begin working in canter. Now in the canter as well, we make sure that we find our rhythm. Especially in the beginning, not too much collection, but a nice forward working canter. And as before, in the walk and the trot, we make sure he remains on my aids. That too, dropping manure, is a sign that he relaxes. A change of direction. Okay, now I ride 2 or 3 transitions. Here as well, making sure I do not get stuck, that he reacts to the half halt to the trot without getting behind me, behind my leg. That will be important later while jumping, that the horse is always nicely in front of the rider in the canter and in the jump. There he looks a little at the camera. Then I immediately tell him, hey, stay here with me, please. By being a little more active, giving a little more leg, giving 2 or 3 half halts. Okay, now I make the canter work a little harder by riding counter-canter on the left. This too is an exercise to increase the activity in the canter, get the hind leg a little more active. Anyway, it could be, especially in his case, that in any aspect I was always having to pay attention to that he is active enough with the hind leg. And with the counter-canter, I can stimulate this relatively easily. Now we do the same on the right. Making sure that he remains active, that he doesn't get behind me. I increase the difficulty by riding deep into the corners. In the beginning, I rounded the corners a little, but when he's warmed up, then I can intensify the exercise a little. It will be a little bit more difficult riding deep into the corner. Okay, we take a break.
Okay. Einmal Luft.
Give the reins a little. The first warm-up, the first 15 minutes, we finished that well. And now we will begin with our exercise. Basically, it is a wonderful exercise to train what we need to do later on when we're riding over the fences. Namely, the fine-tuning of gas and brake, if you want to put it in an easy way. That the horse is really guided by the rider's aids and in the trot over the poles. That he learns to assess the distance to develop the correct rhythm. As I said, the pace is determined by the rider. At the same time, it is a little exercise for coordination and strength. If we have a very young or green horse, then we frequently start by riding over the poles in the walk. I can demonstrate that for you. We take our time and just ride over it once in the walk. As I said, Cool Feeling already knows this. He isn't impressed by this anymore. But sometimes a young horse is a little shy and needs to have a look. So it's not a bad thing to start the exercise in walk. Walk over the poles once or twice to lose the respect of the poles or the cavaletti before beginning to trot and increase the level of difficulty a little. Whoa. Now I take my time and find my rhythm to tell him, No, we don't have to jump yet. You also don't have to canter. We do this in a nice relaxed trot. And if he understands that we have found his rhythm, then I trot towards the poles. You should do that at home as well. Don't trot over the poles hastily, but make sure you do it with a rhythm, a steady rhythm, that the horse always understands what you do. Should I jump, or should I trot, or should I canter? That is really important that it is clear. I do it twice or 3 times to the left. It is important that I arrange the strides evenly. Just like the canter strides later, that means not too big to the first cavaletti, not too close, so that the horse can keep a nice rhythm. That, for example, was a little too close, but Cool Feeling is experienced enough to still make the distance work and maintain his rhythm. Now I do it 2 or 3 times on the right. That was good. Best case, he relaxes now. He will start to drop his head and arch his back, exactly what we want him to do over the jump. I need to apply my leg so that he drops his neck nicely and raises his back even more. Okay, now walk. Now we can increase the level of difficulty and turn the cavaletti onto the other side so that it is a little higher. That takes a little more effort and a little more coordination. Now it is important that I am really focused, because he needs to push off the ground much more, really needs to pick up his feet. In order to carry his body weight, I'm not absolutely sure, but approximately 600 kilograms, to carry it across, it is important that I arrange the strides towards the poles. Well done. We do it again on the right. Very good. Let's take a break again, and then we do the same in the canter on the left and the right. In the meantime, I try to give him the reins a little so he can relax, but I still try to keep his focus with me. Even on a long rein, remain on my aids and not get distracted. Now I pick up the reins again, and then we do the exercise a couple of times in the canter. Basically, it is the same as in the trot. Most of the time it's a little easier for the horse in the canter because they have more impulsion. Nevertheless, it is also important now that I arrange the canter strides. What I did earlier with the canter strides in trot, now I try with the canter strides. And then, of course, I keep my seat close to the horse and make sure that he jumps nicely in front of me. Offer my leg over the cavaletti. Ideally, he will begin to drop his neck nicely and arch his back. I ride him through the exercise actively. I have to maintain his canter, not change the lead, of course. Well, this is basic work for jumping later on. That's it. Good. Now we change direction to the right. On the left it is easier for him. That's why I start on the left, to make it easier for him. That's it. And when he's warmed up, this isn't difficult for him. You will most likely know from your horses at home, Usually, they have one side or direction where it is easier for them. He does that well. He maintains his rhythm nicely, is attentive, is nicely on my aids. I change direction once more to the left. And I change direction as well, so that I'm not always having to change the cantilever, but also ride the cavaletti from the other side. That too is always a nice change. Well, he didn't pay attention there, but was immediately attentive after jumping the other two. That too is an effect of exercise, that the horse really has to concentrate and control their body by paying attention while going over the cavaletti. Okay, here as well, I change direction again. Okay, I'm really satisfied with him. Of course, we don't do this exercise every day, but he is very secure in the execution. Well, maybe two basic explanations. First, on the topic of approach, sometimes on a straight line, sometimes out of a turn. That is simply for bringing some variation. It is not like one is correct and the other is less correct. Of course, it is a little more difficult out of the turn because the horse has to think faster, coordinate faster and find the distance faster without being able to have a good look. On the other hand, coming out of the turn, I have the advantage of having the horse better on the aids, on the bent line. Normally, I'm a little closer to the horse. They might also drop their neck a little better. For younger horses or older horses, or for young riders, both are good exercises to simply train and fine-tune with my horse that later on, when I jump a course, I will need as well. I have always tried to ride a good basic rhythm over the cavaletti. You should not do it like this with every horse. Please don't get me wrong there. With this horse, he doesn't have the most forward drive. Even in his normal work, you always have to motivate him to make him more active. With him, it is important I choose a more forward rhythm, so we always canter into the contact, as we say. That means he does the exercise in a forward manner and with an active hind leg. If with him I do this with too much collection, then everything slows down even more. It's not that he's not able to do this, but with him it is better with a high pace to maintain his forward drive. If I have a horse that already has a forward drive, then maybe even a little hot, then I might be well advised to canter over the cavaletti with a calmer, more collected canter. Simply in order to not have the horse run too much forward. This is all in accordance to the temperament of the horse, the character of the horse, the pace I choose later on for the canter. Now I'm looking forward to the second exercise, jumping and training combinations.